Hi everyone, I think we are live and this is great. We had welcome everyone to today's panel discussion on quick commerce and rapid delivery overcoming challenges. The former session was great, so let's see if we can beat this. But today we are fortunate to be joined by fantastic speakers. So we have Felix Lutter, Head of Retail Innovation and JustEatTakeaway.com. Hey, hi Felix.
Hi.
And Ayman Kaheel, Chief Technology Officer at Breadfast, each bringing a wealth of experience and unique perspectives on quick commerce. So, gents, I will ask you to briefly introduce yourself, starting with Felix. If you could share a bit about your company and your current role, just to get the overall idea to our audience.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Felix. I'm from Germany, but based in Amsterdam now with Just Eat Takeaway. So basically, we're known under different brands in 19 markets. So, for example, that would be in Poland would be Pyszne, in Germany Lieferando, but also Grubhub and Skip the Dishes in US and Canada are part of the family. And basically, we're coming from a food delivery business, so delivering your pizza to your doorstep rather quickly. But now, so my title is Head of Retail Innovation. So I'm trying to actually build a retail business or help build one with supermarkets, but also with other retail to basically use the driver network that we have and the app infrastructure to also then increase the frequency and deliver even more stuff to our customers.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was a brief introduction. How about you, Ayman?
Sure. My name is Ayman Kaheel. I work at Breadfast. Breadfast is a grocery delivery app right now that operates right now mostly in Egypt and in Saudi Arabia. We deliver. We started by delivering bakery every morning to doorsteps in Cairo, and then we moved into delivery the rest of your grocery list, be it your normal supermarket stuff or small electronics, and going all the way back to bakery as our origin. We've been operating in Egypt for around 6 years. And we have around 6,000 employees. We control the entire supply chain from manufacturing all the way to delivery.
Thanks for that. So I love the mix that we are having. So on one side, we have a Just Takeaway, like the global, like the many multi-market company, and right now only Egypt, but I hope for the expansion, fingers crossed. So we have different perspectives, and I would like to kick off with a very general note. So about like incremental innovation versus the new big thing, because the quick commerce a couple of years ago, that was as a category, that was a new market category, that was a great big thing, like everyone was excited about, like let's build dark stores, let's start this, we need to have this, like the big brands, big retail brands were like trying to launch or buy startups. But now it seems to me, you can contradict, of course, it's like more like the default, right, in many markets. So how do you guys trying to stand out, right? Is it like more like be the best in the core services, or like add new value streams for the users? Who wants to start with this question? Felix, I see the lips moving.
So no, so I think honestly, I'm super interested to hear what Ayman has to say, because in our markets, or like where we are strongest, which is I guess continental Europe and the UK, but mostly in continental Europe, I think we're far from maturity in terms of quick commerce. So I think customers are only starting to play around with it. It's not in the culture necessarily to get something delivered within 30 minutes. And yeah, basically, so there was an explosion of new entrants into the market. I think also quite spectacular entrants with Getir, Gorillas, and now there's a bit of consolidation. But still, I think the model is there, and now the industry is reshuffling a little bit, but we're only at the beginning of what it could be, right? And also these traditional retailers are now starting to see the potential in it. But I think indeed where Ayman is operating, that's way further ahead.
I think I like to address it from two directions. So in one way, and in one direction, like if I look at the market that we operate in, the Middle East, Egypt, and the surroundings, quick commerce has only picked up as real quick commerce in the last couple of years. But then the expectation on quick commerce have been accelerating really fast, and that brings me to the second direction. So there is the market, and there is the expectation. So what we used to define as quick commerce a year ago as, you know, deliver in the next couple of hours or the next 4 hours is now coming down to deliver in the next 30 minutes or the next 20 minutes. So I agree completely with Felix. We're very far from being mature. We're still in the beginning of the growth curve for quick commerce. And as you pointed out, there are other streams that you'll have to add in order for you to become sort of the destination of choice, given how much there is a competition out there. Customers don't want to open multiple apps to buy grocery items so I see actually there is a direction where you start adding different streams of services in order for you to become sort of the direction of the app. And I think Asia has been leading us in that direction, and you can see the number of services that you can get from one app, be it in China, Taiwan, or Japan.
Yeah, all right. So let me follow up with from the end user perspective, and because both you said something about like expectations from the end user, right? So how do you think like how it will be going? So will it be more like educating the market that the 10 minutes or 15 minutes delivery of anything I can order is like not sustainable, or would it be like charging more for this premium experience? Because we see some hints that it might be like, for example, Uber Eats, right? This is like the operation that if you want it faster, yeah, pay higher. This is additional fee to have it like that, maybe 10 minutes faster. Or will you be trying as a players to actually live up to expectations from the end users? So what's your opinion on this?
Felix, you want to take a crack first?
Yeah. What we see is actually it's more about accuracy than necessarily about the exact minute, right? So, I mean, let's say that the playing field goes until 60 minutes. Maybe if you push it 90 minutes, but actually 60 minutes is attractive. But then the interesting part is if you tell you we're there in 45, then we better be there in 45, right? Also, ideally not in 30 or 20, because now people start to get savvy with it, and they order it once they get into the tube to go home, right? So yeah. Accuracy might be better than the incremental minute that you save. On the other hand, I guess the paying extra for an extra service is an interesting model, but I only see that further down the line, because at least in Germany, when I talk to friends, I'm still battling the argument of, yeah, but I can just walk, you know, I'm not going to pay the €3 that somebody actually gets it to me. So there's still a bit of a shift in habits to do, but I'm actually quite confident that will happen, because those same friends would have said it, the same thing about the pizza 15 years ago, right? So
yeah, true.
Now it's quite normal to get that delivered.
True. Ayman, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm completely on the same page with Felix. Like there is a sweet spot of how much the customer is willing to pay for the convenience, but I also think we're kind of leading them into getting used to fast delivery. So I see, for example, some companies deliver coffee, right? Hot coffee. You want your coffee hot. You want it to come in a good shape, the cup in a good shape, rather than soap. So you better deliver it in 20 to 30 minutes. And that might be possible with certain things, but not possible others. I see, for example, in some services, and without mentioning a lot of names, where they have their a small selection of items that they're willing to deliver in 20 minutes, and a bigger selection of items that will deliver that for you in an hour. But I also agree with Felix completely that what is more important is do you fulfill your promise of delivery promise. Like if you say I'm going to deliver this in 40 minutes, you better deliver it in 40 minutes. And that has a larger impact on the customer on the exact amount rather than the exact amount of the minutes. So and that's something actually we try to do in Breadfast, and it's really, really hard, even though we control the entire supply chain, just giving a promise like, hey, I'm going to give you this in 20 minutes, and you deliver it actually within that.
Yeah, I love this notion. Thank you for bringing this up. I didn't thought about this earlier, but actually at the beginning, I was super excited about, wow, it's so fast. Like in 10 minutes, I can get some stuff like the chips or whatever. Sorry for I'm on the diet maybe, so I shouldn't mention it. Only healthy food, right? So bananas and tomatoes. But I was so excited about the possibility I can get it in like 10, 15 minutes. And right now, when Felix, especially when you mention it, I'm like, I used to, sometimes when I walk the dog, I order like the delivery grocery during the walk, right? So I would hate if it was like too early, right? If it was like in 20 minutes, because I would be pacing, rushing, right? I don't want to do this. I just want to have a really comfortable and peaceful walk with a dog. And then, right, you said accuracy. I love the notion about importance of accuracy. That's a great point. So moving on. So we started to discuss some challenges that you are facing, and you have the different challenges, obviously. So what would be the hidden challenges from your perspective that no one sees, like no one talks about? I mean, no one inside your companies, right? But the market or like the media industry are not seeing, are not discussing. So what is this from your perspective? And maybe let's start with Ayman right now.
Yeah, so there are actually a lot of challenges that happens behind the scene that no one actually notices. Sometimes you even get criticized. So, for example, one of the challenges that we deal with is we're growing at a really big pace. So it's a really good problem to have from the outside, but it puts so much pressure on our operations. For example, availability of the products that we have on the app. Like today, we forecast that we need X, Y, and Z amounts of the SKUs that we have. We have around 10,000 SKUs. And next week, because of the growth, even though we're making sure that the numbers are growing, but because our growth is exceeding our projections, things go out of availability, and our customers complain that a lot of things are going out of stock, and that's a horrible customer experience. You go in to order the things that you want, and if you don't find them, they're not happy. But on the other hand, if you overstock, that's cash that's being held in the cycle. That's overstocking. That things go out of out of expiry dates and all of that. So these are the kind of challenges that we try to use a lot of machine learning for it. We use a lot of AI, and we use a lot of KPIs to control these and to have a very efficient supply chain, but kind of because that's the core strength, and no one thinks about that. Like this is all hidden in the back end. Out of the 6,000 people that work at the company, 5,500 work in our supply chain, but the customer doesn't care, and rightfully so. Like they just need their service. But these are the kind of challenges that we have to deal with behind the scene.
Yeah, I know this also from the end user experience, like that when I see all of the stocks unavailable, like the blurred image of the whatever cross bun or some cottage cheese, and I'm so disappointed. Like I was trying well, it's 10 p.m. obviously, so perhaps I should know better, But yeah, it's like the disappointing experience when I see it should be there, it's not there. Is it my fault? It should be on the provider side, maybe. But just wanted to follow up, I meant very quickly. So you mentioned that you are using machine learning for that. Are you satisfied with the outcomes?
There is always space for improvement, and we're working on improving our algorithms all the time. So initially, we used to do forecasting for category of things, like categories for bakeries, for example, beverages, and all of that. Now we have models for every SKUs. We have like 10,000 models predicting the availability for 10,000 SKUs, and every time we get new kind of SKU, we build a model after a little while after we get some data. So we are getting some success, but there is a long way to go.
Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for taking my question. Felix, how about you? What about the hidden challenges and just a takeaway?
Yeah, maybe to go into the same direction, but just from our different model, right? So we're a marketplace. So basically, then obviously there's friction also where the supply chain parts come together, right? So for example, our courier going to the retailer. And obviously, then we already talked about accuracy. You don't want the courier waiting too long, but you also are not sure how much staff do you need to actually pick all the orders, because you don't. It's a new vertical, right? So in the beginning, when we started delivering consumer electronics on our platform, we didn't know how many people would actually order an iPhone via a food platform, right? So that's something that we figured out. But then, for example, what was interesting as well, and stuff that really doesn't nobody sees, is really the interaction, let's say, between the people in the stores, right? So like you meet headquarters to headquarters, you have this great process mapped out, you give trainings on both sides, and then these people actually meet in practice. And then the store employee says, well, I'm about to hand you an iPhone, so I'd like to have a signature from you, because that's kind of how we do it, right? And the courier is not briefed, and it's like, what am I signing here? And these kind of things. And the courier has a works council, obviously. Then the works council complains. So these operational things we still need to iron out, and then there's no standard way of interacting yet, right? So we're still building the standard together with our partners. And actually, that's what makes it exciting. But indeed, that's maybe something that's not so obvious.
Yeah, you mentioned also, I love this, thanks for that. You mentioned also like your partners, right? So from your perspective, how many stakeholders you need to handle, you need to build alignment within, from the perspective? Because from my perspective, I just order something from Rio, right? Be it Breadfast in Egypt, be it just takeaway, or Pyszna. Yeah, sometimes I'm using Pyszna as well. So what's happening behind the scenes? How many main stakeholders do you have?
Yeah, so I think to just keep the business as is, let's say. I mean, on partner side, obviously, you need to interact with the headquarters, like that's basically the normal account management. But also, there's a lot of hand-holding, obviously, for the stores, because it's completely new to them. And then the interesting part that I wasn't used to in my previous job, where everything was very established in like an FMCG company, the internal stakeholder management, right? So you need to explain or align with logistics that they're not only driving pizzas, but also iPhones, and think along with them what that might entail. Or marketing, right? We don't have any assets showing iPhones. Wait, so we need to set this up. So it's actually a little bit of a 360 exercise, and but I think again, once we get into a bit of a established rhythm, then it's going to be a little bit more the normal account management at some point, I guess.
Okay, so it seems it's actually a very not established but very exciting and growing market, from what you've said already. So let's say we have some brief understanding of how the quick commerce looks like in 2024. Your guesses, your guts, what telling you about like the 2028 key challenges that will shape the market and change the market? Okay, Felix.
Yeah, so I think the operating model will crystallize more. So I think that there's a lot of different players that are doing overlapping things in the value chain, right? So we still have dark store players in Germany or in continental Europe. We then have these food delivery platforms that are coming in. I don't know, maybe at some point some of the next day marketplace players might be interested in quick delivery as well. I think by 2028 this will be a little bit more orderly, and let's say that the customer knows where to go when they want something delivered within the hour, and it's the interaction of the different players is maybe a little bit more clear.
Ayman, from your perspective?
Yeah, I guess I'm imagining a couple of things happening. One, the app interface will become will have more consolidation in the sense that people will expect to have lesser destinations to go to. So there is, for example, Breadfast. I imagine that we will try to become your one-stop shop for everything that you need for the family, from grocery, pharmaceuticals, clothes, all of that. So that will put a lot of challenge on figuring out. And of course, the supply chain itself will become a mix of dark stores and market and shops and a marketplace on the app, similar to Amazon. At least in the Middle East, that model doesn't exist till today, and I think actually it should be something that is doable if you perfect your sort of supply chain and backend. It still has ways to go because we're also working with regulations. We're working with things that we have to figure out that we haven't figured out yet. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is I actually imagine that people will start wanting to make these orders through different interfaces, not necessarily the app. So for example, I would imagine people would go to WhatsApp, for example, that Breadfast channel, and say, here is what I want to order. WhatsApp is very, very, I don't know how it is how common it is in Europe. It's extremely common in Egypt for managing business orders and things like that. So I imagine that, one day we'll have to have an interface on WhatsApp that allows people to make orders, track their orders, and talk to our customer service and all of that. And I don't think that this is either hard or challenging in itself, but it will just have more channels. Similar, for example, to the example of, hey, here is my recipe that was in the previous session, where this is a recipe on the website. Just highlight it and throw a plugin, order it on Breadfast or in whatever app you want, and just order that. So, some more integration between the different apps that you've used to, and start treating the supply chain as a set of APIs that you can integrate it through different interfaces, rather than just being limited with, you have to download the app, you have to order through the app.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I believe we have 2 more minutes left. So how about we are in the second week of the Q4 of the last year. So everybody's like closing in this year, like trying to sum up like the successes and failures and improve for the next year. So I will give you like the 45 seconds or so per each of you to share what excites you about the next year. It can be a trend or it can be a project, if you can share anything. So just very quickly, what excites you about 2025? Ayman.
Sure. So we are working really hard on integrating machine learning and different aspects of AI in our supply chain. Like, we already have it in silos, but we're working on trying to put some of it on kind of autopilot, where it looks at the inventory, it makes the purchase orders, it looks at the location, it moves the dispatching, the mid-mile operation. It can orchestrate the operation internally. It sets the automatic discounts when it sees things are about to expire, things like that. And I think I'm really excited about this because I think there is so much value that can come out of that that is underrated right now.
Okay, thanks for that, Felix.
Yeah, I think I'm quite excited about still finding new partners, but also working really in a more stable manner with all the great partners that we have, right? So I think last year was a lot about, or this year was a lot about onboarding, kind of getting in contact, figuring out how we work together, and now we can actually go into proper business as usual mode and think about the customer actually more than about ourselves. So I think indeed I'm really looking forward to. Well, I hope we do a bit of it this year. But for example, for this company, Black Friday is not the greatest food moment, right? But
Right.
for next year, Black Friday, I'm super excited about that, and how these two worlds, from a consumer point of view, can actually go together and grow together. Maybe that is actually something that I'm really looking forward to in 2025.
Ayman, Felix, thanks for our conversation. We mentioned, I love this session. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your insights. I love the notion about accuracy. So we promised this session will end at 4 p.m. It's already 1 minute past that. So I hope that our audience is more forgiving than the quick commerce users. And thank you so much for the session. See you soon.